What is Hoppin' Squad? Your boy Jesimein. Today I got a pretty interesting video for you guys. People have been asking me how I make my builds, where I get the ideas from, and the whole concept. I've been making builds for Division and Division 2 since launch, since beta days. The first thing I did is hop on and make a build. Any game I go into, I like making builds. I like making myself super strong. I like finding different avenues of making builds good. So today I'm just going to give you guys like an insight on like a pretty much Jesemein's guide to build making in the Division 2. Now, first things first, obviously there's different types of players, different DPS players, skill players. We have the tank players. We have everybody and all their different like walks of life in the game. But I would pretty much want to break it down on, I don't know if you guys want to consider me like a high level build maker or whatever that looks like, but just for the people who are interested in my thought process, how it works. So first things first, let's start off with how specialists work. So back in the day when Division 2 first had dropped, specialists were kind of focused on in like more of a you choose your role type, right? Because you can only get certain types of weapon damage on certain ones. But now that they open the floor, you're pretty much not speccing into the weapon damage part. You're speccing into the extra attributes that you're going to get. So for example, if you're running sharpshooter, it's obvious that if you want headshot damage, that's going to be what you want to go towards. If you want to walk explosion damage on skill build, it's either the technician or it's going to be the demolitionist. If you want to be tanky and kind of like abuse armor and stuff, you go for gunner, and so on and so forth. It's not really as important no more. It's good in certain situations, but now that the builds themselves have taken the reins, and you kind of don't rely on that. So when people say, well, what specialist is better, it's pretty much your playstyle. That's going to choose and differentiate whether or not you need to choose a certain specialist. Only in certain situations, if you're using certain skills such as explosions or stuff, will it make sense to use like demolitionist specifically over everything. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now let's go into weapon types. So in my experience, if I'm just gonna give you guys my brief like meta analysis, the strongest in the game are gonna be rifles and LMGs at the top. If I'm gonna put them in S tier, I'm gonna put assault rifles in like the A tier, and then everything else in B tier. There's really nothing that's super trash, but I feel like at the way bottom, I'm tied between shotguns and subs. Like I just haven't seen it yet. Maybe Lady Death is super good. I haven't really got a chance to get it. But as far as tier list right now, exotics are extremely strong in their own regard, but in the top of the meta, it's going to be rifles and LMGs right now, putting out the most DPS. So if you are a DPS player, that's what you kind of want to have in the back of your head. And it's not just based off of the build, it's just how the weapons are made in this game right now. That's definitely going to be the focal point. Now when it comes to talents, so people have all kinds of different talents that they go for. You have different builds, right? When you're making a build, people forget the fact that the talents are just as important, because they're basically making up for places that the gear set or that the brand set doesn't have. Whenever I kind of make a build, really when it comes to talent, I want to get the most damage out of it. If I can't get damage at all, I don't care. I don't care on PC. I don't care about stability, accuracy, or anything else. I only care about damage, or I care about straight utility. And I have the perfect examples for both. So on my LMG, you can see right here, I have Unhinged, which is a raw damage stat. Gives me 18% weapon damage. So if I want to go for DPS, this is going to be the go-to. I know LMGs already have incredible mag sizes. They have really good RPM. Obviously, the Negev or the MG5 on the upper end spectrum of LMGs. So I can roll something like this that's going to give me that raw damage when I already know that LMGs come with a lot of base damage, period, plus damage targets out of cover. So I wanted to like pretty much put emphasis on that, and I'm going to let the weapon decide on how much damage it's going to do. Now, if I don't have a direct damage talent, because there's very few damage talents in the game that are really effective in my opinion, I'm going to go for straight utility, something that I can pretty much rely on, and that's something like Spike, for example, which headshots grant 20% skill damage, because it's something that's going to proc the rest of my build. In this case, let's say I'm running a skill build, I want to use Spike to give like a quick little buff, or I can use something like Perpetuation, where another headshot gives me status effect damage. Just something that you can proc where your weapon is not necessarily the main focus. It's pretty much like the fire starter, or like the fuel of the build itself. Now there's other little gimmick things like salvage and stuff, but to me, in my build making, I use a very like specific set of talents and stuff, because I personally feel like there's a lot of unnecessary talents. Like for example, I don't know, like this, like perfect unwavering. Swapping to this weapon grants 400% weapon handling. That is one of the most unnecessary talents, right? Like, yeah, it's cool. It looks, you see a big 400% weapon handling buff, but it's a pistol. You know what I'm saying? And if you're on PC, it's even less intuitive. You know, so yes, I know you look at all these perfect stats. Or what about this? What about that? It's if it's something that you can't just do on a fly at all times, I don't consider it that good of a talent. In this case, swapping to the weapon gives you 400% weapon handling for 5 seconds, and you can refresh the buff. But I mean, who needs weapon handling on a pistol? So something like Spike, all I have to do is just hit a random headshot and I get an 8-second buff that's extremely powerful for my skills. So you guys can see how talents on weapons work. Now get into the actual build making. Now, first things first, my focal point in build making for the people who are new to my channel has always been skill first, tank second, DPS last. That's always been my formula. I know there's plenty of amazing DPS build makers out there. I love DPS builds, but more than likely I kind of design my builds like more so not even just rock, paper, scissors, literally like paper and rock. And paper is going to be my skill build and my tank build, and the rock is going to be the DPS. I design all my builds necessarily to battle DPS, and that's kind of where the concept of all my builds came. So, and in this case, I'm using my Corrupt Agent build. If you guys haven't seen it, I actually have a video out on this. So how this game works is a lot of people will say, well, damage, right? So this is where I make up for it, right? I'll have something like Unhinged because I know I'm going to be rocking all blues, right? I know I'm not going to have damage coming out from my gear pieces, so I have to make up somewhere else. So in this case, I would use the LMG with Unhinge on it, or I'll use a rifle that has extremely high base damage and kind of have like a happy medium of free damage that doesn't take away from the build. People say, well, you're not gonna melt because of everybody running deep tanky builds, whatever. The one thing people always forget, I don't know why this is like forgetful nature in Division 2, you don't have to have a crazy amount of damage to beam the next person because everybody who's running damage is already squishy. In this time to kill on Title Update 8, Warlords of New York, people are extremely squishy even if you're at 1.6 million. They're like, well, then what's the point of running that? The point is because the tankier you are and you run gimmicks around your build that kind of go into the weaknesses it's gonna allow you to beat the other builds. So in this case, when I want to build a build, right, I'm thinking about what I'm going up against, not necessarily just something I like or just a situation I'm getting into. If I know I'm going into legendary and I need something that's going to protect me, I'll pretty much go here to like my Godwire build. I know that I don't put out that much damage, but I know the utility of having an infinite revives is going to help me. Yes, it's kind of boring sometimes, but I'm playing a role. Let's say I want to go into a healing position. I pull out something that's going to be able to proc all the heals. Yes, I'm not doing DPS. Yes, I'm not tanky, but I'm playing my role. But let's say I'm going to go into DZ and I know I'm going to go against DPSers because that's what people usually run in PvP. I need something that's going to counteract what they're good at, right? So for example, as I run this corruption build, I'm able to pop the mech hit, have a like pretty much a baby god mode for a couple seconds, let them waste their bullets while I'm shooting them the whole time. I'm tanky, they're not tanky, even though I'm not doing it as much damage because they're so squishy. It feels like I'm doing the damage, and I'm able to do that by kind of speccing into a lot of armor, plus using abilities such as like this, the Hashtag Protocol, where I get 50% bonus armor and I can pretty much spam that at my will. So yes, I may have armor all over the place, but there's different gimmicks that actually help me in a battle. So like armor regeneration when I'm able to heal and run away and certain things like that. Now I know a lot of people will say, well, how do I know what's good and how do I know what works? One thing I always do when I go into build making, like I said earlier, I think about the problem, right? So like, let's say if I'm going to DZ and I know people are going to be shredding me because they're super high DPS, how can I counteract that? Well, maybe I can put on a skill build that's going to pretty much protect me and keep me in a position where I'm behind a shield or something and I'm able to hit them with like artillery strike, knowing that they're squishy, knowing that they're going to get one tap, and it kind of negates their build. You want to play the rock, paper, scissors mentality in PvP and PvE. And why I say that is because let's say you're in a situation where you're playing legendary, right? And everybody's going down. Like you guys already seen my most popular build so far in Warlords New York. That's my Godwire build. I know for a fact we're going down, right? Players are going to get wiped in legendary. How can I abuse that system? I'm thinking about, okay, well, not a lot of people use hardwired because everybody's so focused on DPS. Everybody's so worried about getting the enemy out of the battlefield. They forget that there's different things that feed into it. This is a team synergy game. This is something that a lot of people are not pretty much accepting. That's the fact that this game is definitely based around utility. It's not just beaming something that you're looking at, killing as fast as possible, because yes, you can beam everybody that you want to, but at some point they're going to catch you slipping, you're going to die, and that's going to be that, all that work for nothing. So I create a build that's going to step outside of that role and let most people are going to run the normal DPS role anyways, so I try to create something that's going to step into that, and it kind of hits different. So in this case, obviously, I have my chest piece that's going to be able to buff the whole team, as well as my hardwire proc that I get to kind of refresh when I want, and an infinite revive hive, so the people who can run full DPS and want to melt things get to do it more likely, and don't have to worry about going down every 10 seconds because of how squishy they are. That is how you kind of formulate how you want to build. In PvP, it's pretty much what do you expect the most. 90% of the players you come across want to melt you. They want to be able to beam you. It's easy. Well, let me not say that. It's easier to just look at somebody and shoot the gun, and on PC and just laser somebody, and on console as well, versus having to deal with a gimmick that's why people call it cheesy, because in order for them to beat it, they have to have some crazy situation where you misplay, but that is the name of the game, right? I create builds to necessarily counter every situation that I'm in, and it allows me to do so. Now, people are so like, I don't know why people act like this is super like a depth system as far as the core attribute. You have 3 choices, right? You have weapon damage, armor, or skill tier. Now, hybrids are kind of in a place. I'm kind of playing around with them, but in this patch, you want to commit, right? Don't try to get everything. It's not going to work. This is not a meta where you can be jack of all trades. It's pretty much a meta that's going to be built around whatever gear set you're running or whatever talent you're trying to abuse. So in this case, if you're going to run a DPS, you want to make sure you have all reds. Go all in. Don't even play around with it. Have your weapon damage on everything. Have your glass cannon. Have your vigilance, because you're going to get shredded either way. That one little armor roll that you have, like let's say I have, like for example, let's say I go to my Godwire DPS version. I put this on for the sake of the video. This one little armor, you see I'm at 849, that's no different than being at 675. You're going to get clipped by whatever it is anyway, so you might as well get something out of it. Yes, in this case, it's a little smart because I do get that little armor break. But if you didn't have like a chest like this, you want to use something that has like glass cannon or something on it, so that while you're up or while you're in your situation, if you have a healer, if you have somebody protecting you, whatever the case, you're putting out as much damage as possible instead of wasting it on armor that you think is going to protect you, because it's not. Even people with 1.7 million armor on my builds, most of my builds are like that, you still get shredded anyway. So if you're going to commit, you're going to commit to all reds. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the tank builds. I always tell people, if you're going to commit to something, feel free to go all the way. So you see I'm at 1.6. I committed hard with armor and armor regen. You see right here, the same thing, armor regen. It's rolls. It's literally rock, paper, scissors rolls. People don't like it like that, but it's just the truth. That's just what's working right now. And I'm pretty much that for the foreseeable future, that's what it's going to be. You kind of are forced to play a role, and I like that because it opens the floor for players to be something, right? If you're a healer, you're really the healer. If you're the reviver, you're really the reviver. If you're the hard DPS, you're really hard DPS. You're not the guy, well, I can do everything. That's not the case. If you try to do everything, you're gonna suck at everything. If you don't have enough armor, you're gonna get beamed. If you don't have enough reds, you're not gonna have no damage. If you don't have enough yellows, then your skills are gonna be meaningless anyways. You're gonna be like stuck in this limbo of nothingness, and you're not gonna be able to contribute to your team, versus in a situation where you can kind of put full-fledged heals or full-fledged something where you can see right here, if like we go to like my cam launcher, because I'm all the way committed, even though I know I'm squishy, I'm all the way committed, so I'm able to get these big numbers like a 1.1 million armor repair. Now, I know people are going to say, well, what if there's certain builds that work that are combo, but as you can see, like literally, like no cap, if you look at all of my builds, this is probably the only one that's all over the place, and the only reason is because I'm abusing the fact that I have infinite revive, so I can run whatever I want. The whole fact that I could die or whatever. But the one thing that people are forgetting is that commitment is what makes builds really, really good. So you can see all my builds are really high committing into that one role, mastering that one role. So you can see people forget that most of the time, if you do not commit, make sure there's utility. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say I had all this and I had one electronic BTSU. It has to be something that has some kind of utility that makes it worth not fully committing. In this case, obviously, I get to give my team armor. That definitely makes sense. So that's pretty much like a little simplistic idea of like how builds are ran in this game. It's super important off of your backpack and your chest talent. Obviously, you don't get talents on anything else. So these two talents can change the whole course of a build. They're able to put a whole different feel on the build if you run them correctly, as well as your skills. If you're running anything that's in DPS, it's simple. Honestly, I'm just gonna give you guys a little cheat code. If you want to build DPS, all you need to do, I don't have all the pieces, but all you need to do is get these gloves with the weapon damage, damage to armor. Get the rifle knee pads that give you, I believe it's also damage to targets out of cover, and get the Hollow Man mask, and you can run any DPS build in the game. So those three, the named Hollow Man mask, the named Contractor gloves, and the named Foxtrot something knee pads, and then just run all reds, and you can run any DPS in the game. When it comes to skills, it's a little bit more tricky because there's so many options, there's so many good skills, but just pretty much specking the full skills here, and whatever role you're playing. So like you can see, I have heal skills on. I want to make sure both of my talents are committed to my heals, not something in survivability. I don't care about that. I just want to have something that's only based around what I'm trying to go after. If you're making a build, don't try to make the build do too many things, because then it's going to be good at nothing. You want to make a build that's going to focus and be extremely A+ at one thing and F at everything else. That's literally how the game is ran right now, and that's just what it is. If you're a full-fledged DPS, you're going to get melted. That's your F. Your damage is an A+, your health is an F. If you're a tank, your tank's considered, your tank and aggro with a shield is an A+, but your damage and your skill power is going to be F. You're always taking 2, right? If you're a skill build, you have no damage, you have no tankiness. Those are your Fs. Your A+ is that you can heal, that you can do the damage, the skills, whatever. If you're a tank, you have no damage, but you have no skill power. So you have terrible skills, and you can't do no DPS, but you can tank and aggro anything and stay alive the longest. And also, if you're a skill person, obviously it goes rock, paper, scissors, like I was saying. So that's just something for you guys to look towards. And I know this is like not super complex secrets to build making, but I'm just keeping it real with you guys. This is really what it is. There is no wild explanation on why this should work or why it doesn't work. No, in reality, what it comes down to, it's the simple context of committing to what you want to do. If you want to be a healer, make a build that's all tailored around healer, and if you want to do something else, make another build for that. Choose a role, stick to it, commit to it, get the talents for it, and apply it. You know what I'm saying? And then you will be grand. You will feel the difference. Instead of wanting to do everything, you will feel like, you know what, I'm happy with my role, and I'll let my teammates handle other people. There's 4 people on a team that covers all roles plus 1. You know what I'm saying? You can have your DPS, your tank, your skill build, and plus whoever else wants to run whatever. So you're open up to the floor to do whatever you want. Just make sure that you're committing to your team by giving them something of value when it comes to builds, because committing is going to be the biggest thing that makes your build feel like it's doing something, especially in this patch where legendary and NPCs are extremely powerful and they're super hard to deal with. Don't worry about the super like, oh my god, what if it has to be the perfect stat? That's not as important as the synergy of having your build committed to a single concept that's going to help you succeed in the game. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoy. I love y'all. I just want to give y'all this brief little guide to build making and how to be better, how to be a better player, period. So let me know what you guys think below. If you guys have any other build making tips that you want to give me, that you want to give the community, please drop it in the comments section below. If you made it this far in the video, drop that subscribe. You are a real one. Welcome to Squad in advance. And like I said, hit the comments up, drop your best build ideas, drop your best build advice for all the new players and for the current players who just want to have kind of a workaround on what works in the game. My builds, I've had a blast with. I've been went crazy. You guys seen the footage, you've seen the streams. My flavor of build making has been working phenomenal for me, and it's Jesimein improved. You feel me? So that's pretty much it. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. Your boy.